Ahoy! This is Captain JR of the USS Many Saints of Gabagool. Now hear this. I don't know where I was going with that. Today I'm going to be a bit of a geek. Then again, when aren't I? I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Elite Force 2, a 2003 FPS with some puzzle and light RPG mechanics, developed by Ritual Entertainment and published by Activision. Yes, this is a sequel and I'm not covering the first game. The fuck, dude? Well, sorry, I probably won't do a video on the first game. I have experience with that one, and I don't have a ton to say. I mean, I hardly know anything about the second game, mostly because it never received any console ports, unlike the first one. So I didn't get a chance to play it until much later, when it was re-released on GOG. It doesn't help that a lawsuit from back in the day basically kneecapped the shelf life of this game, but that's a subject I'll save for the end portion of the video. Anyway, if you're unfamiliar with Trek and its lore, this video will leave you feeling a bit lost, so apologies in advance if you're not a nerd like I am. I'll try to condense and simplify it as best as I can. Now then, what lies within this entity that has eluded me all this time? Barring the tutorial with our favorite emotionless chief of security Tuvok, constantly bugging you about how to do some Herculean tasks such as jumping and crouching, Elite Force 2 picks up right at the series finale of Voyager, where we finally find a way home from the Delta Quadrant through Borg technology, as seen in the finale of the show. Sorry for the massive spoiler, but if it means anything, it was spoiled to me long before I watched the show. Nevertheless, Voyager is trapped and once more the Hazard team is placed back into action to show these mechanical zombie bastards who's boss. First off, we get no option to play as a woman like we could in the original, because women aren't real. Okay, I actually don't know the reason why the gender option was removed. Probably just taken out so the devs wouldn't have to do all that additional work making the other gender playable. So yeah, I guess the man version of Monroe was the canonical version, even though these games themselves aren't canon. Whatever, doesn't matter. This serves as a nice analog to the opening level to the first one. We're now infiltrating a Borg ship for real, like we did later in the first game anyway. Still nice touch. Like last time, the Borg are still capable of shooting projectiles, because just having an assimilation melee attack is for losers. Unlike the last time, however, they found a way to disable our I-mods, the weapon that is able to punch through a Borg's shields without them adapting to the shots. Awesome. It does provide some extra challenge, since in the first one you could just down these guys, one after another without breaking a sweat, an action that loses its punch real fast. But later on in this mission, it started to become a considerable pain when half a dozen or so drones would crowd you and your teammates. And your weapons don't do a damn thing. It wasn't hard necessarily, just a pain in the ass. It would be nice to have a melee attack here, though it is also nice that our team is seemingly invincible, or at least they have a shitload of health. That makes my life a hell of a lot easier, since my mostly brainless comrades are way more determined to take down drones than I am. Anyway, this 4-person team had teleported onto the Borg sphere, and through some shenanigans, half of the team is transported elsewhere. But these guys are all carryovers from the first game, meaning their chances of survival are decent. With me is Chang, while we tour the ship without attacking anyone at first because that would just waste ammo if we did. We locate Chell, who is much less timid and way more annoying than he is in the first game. Yeah. Through his babbling, this is where the game introduces a new mechanic, the tricorder. To be fair, you can use a tricorder in Virtual Voyager in the previous game, though it's finally given purpose in the main game here, used to bypass force fields or restore power, depending on the situation. Sometimes you simply need to stand next to a panel with the device while it bypasses whatever it needs to bypass in a bypassing manner. Other times you get puzzles, such as this spectrometer one, where you have to match the wavelength of the one provided for example. The other puzzle type is this one where you have to reconnect circuits without hitting one of these red X's, and connecting to one of those results in the minigame shutting down and you have to start the puzzle over again. These aren't so bad on their own, until the game decides to time you on these at a couple points later on. Sure, these puzzles may not be hard by any stretch, it's just irritating when the game is forcing me to pick up the pace at a time when I need to concentrate. This makes the game feel like I'm a student in a classroom called on by the teacher to answer a question, except the teacher is holding me at gunpoint, threatening to shoot if I don't answer quickly or correctly. Well, the tricorder does mix up gameplay a little. Plus, I'm not done talking about it yet. It does a few different tricks that I will touch on as we go along. A short time later, Chang gets transported away by Borg drones, and we rescue him before he can be fully assimilated. I think. When I first played this, I hadn't seen as much Trek at the time, and I thought it was weird Chang was rescued and made a full recovery like he had never been assimilated at all. Especially since it is emphasized in The Next Generation and Voyager that assimilation is a hard thing to come back from, physically and mentally. He seemed about as far gone as Lieutenant Foster was in the previous game, yet he's completely absent from this game. So if you did manage to save Foster in the first game, it doesn't matter. Whoops. But then again, this shit happened so many other times after the Borg made an introduction that I realized it was pointless to question it. This franchise has certainly tripped up on consistency numerous times before and after this instance. This rescue shows off a new HUD feature, the radar, which can point to objectives and enemies, as one would expect, and it appears to be somewhat tiny. Okay, I need to trail off again real quick to explain this. I promise to hold off on the tangents after I do this one. He lied. The reason why the HUD and menu is noticeably off in a few ways is because, well, this game can run in widescreen 1080p out of the box with some tinkering, but it's not entirely future-proof. The game doesn't scale the HUD properly, and a lot of the menu text is a little too big that it cuts off parts of some of the letters. However, I chose to preserve that for this video, despite a fix for this specific problem existing out there. I only did it because I can still see the HUD just fine. It isn't that complex and I don't need to look at it constantly. It sure does bother me a little, though I was perfectly okay as long as I was able to get it running in 1080p and be able to adjust the FOV accordingly, which is the case here. Hooray! I did try to turn off the view roll for the sake of most of the people watching this. The option to turn it on and off is there in the options. You can see me highlighting it, and clicking it off did absolutely nothing. Nor did going into a config file to change it manually. I have no explanation for this one. Maybe it's something to do with running this game in modern Windows, or in widescreen, I don't know. If you happen to not like the view roll for any given reason, I'm sorry, we're all stuck with it for this video. Alright, I know, back to the game. After rescuing Chang and linking back up with Telsia, we move further into the ship, encountering Borg we can't kill, unless we find a distribution node to destroy. It sure is a good thing my team is near invincible. They would have been drones the second the Borg perceived us as a threat. Fortunately, we destroy the node that was jamming our iMods. About time. We can really fly through these drones now, only to be stopped dead in our tracks to solve some puzzles. I've said my piece on these already. 3 wavelength puzzles later, Voyager is able to break free and we beam out of here. Except Monroe ends up being transported back onto the Borg ship. Looks like they're not done with us yet. Hey Tuvok, you there? What's going on?
We are having difficulty transporting you through the anti-lepton interference. We had to send your pattern back to the Borg vessel.
Where in the Borg vessel?
The Borg central plexus. Your primary objective is to avoid alerting them to your...
Oh, god damn it. Stealth. My worst enemy. Well, alright, giddy up, I guess. No. What? This isn't a stealth section. This is just a boss. Damn it, Tuvok, stop confusing me, you soulless asshole. You've already been annoying the piss out of me since the first game. I'm sure glad I won't have to see you ever again after we return to Earth. But, oh man, this drone is a Hulk. I don't think I've ever seen one this large before. I didn't think they made them this large. Hulk, assimilate! Disregard how much he towers over you. He's trivial as a boss. Although there are these shielded distribution nodes that can be shut down. I think all it does is stun the big bastard, and it's not required to destroy them. Not that it's hard to shut down the shields and destroy the nodes themselves, I just figured they would be necessary to take out in order to escape the ship. Nope, it just makes this boss much more of a pussy than he initially appears to be. I only know this because he never became resistant to any of my weaponry, nor does he go full-on God mode on me at any point during the fight. Plus, I wasn't able to take down the last node out of the 4 total, and I finished him off. Well, back to Voyager, for real this time. Huzzah! We make it back planet side after 7 long years in the dreaded Delta Quadrant. And I'm sure we'll be rightfully recognized for our heroic efforts back in the...
Starfleet is reasonably pleased.
Reasonably?
Here are your new assignments. Telsia, you will command the security force on the USS Dallas.
Hey, you guys just survived 7 years on a part of deep space that has hardly been explored by the Federation. Therefore, you had little to no knowledge of what to expect. And you could have died scared and confused at any moment. Congratulations! Anyway, I'm breaking up the band. Man, who put this dick in charge of our destinies? What the hell is going on? The Hazard team wasn't good enough to stay together once we got back? From the pissing Delta Quadrant? After 7 goddamn years? And also, not even a good job from this guy. Well, you heard where Telsia is going. Chel's getting shipped out to some research station where he can annoy someone else, finally. And we are going to be teaching dumb kids about tactics here at the Academy. Exhilarating. And he doesn't say where Chang is going, but we try to argue our case to keep the team together. It doesn't go well since, according to Eyebrows anyway, we use tactics that were technically against Starfleet regulations. Alright, listen here, Eyebrows. You're saying that like we pulled a knife on some non-violent Vulcan and robbed him without a second thought. Sure, we mostly killed various humanoids, creatures, and droids, but it was always in self-defense. That mobile torpedo launcher was for defending my life, I swear. Also, don't think I don't notice your teeth clipping through your face. It doesn't matter. Looks like we're all going our separate ways. Monroe here is suddenly summoned to the lobby. Someone wants to see us. Why, whoever could it be? Someone who can help us get reassigned? Ah, great, it's Tuvok. He congratulates us on the new gig and he wants to give us one last goodbye before he departs. We played with him about the new job and he says he'll talk to some people to get us reassigned, but I get the feeling that's not happening. Yeah, live long and fuck off. We head outside to talk to Telsia, and I gotta say, I'm loving the look of these environments. They really speak to me. At least, outside of the bland hallways, these maps, and the whole game for that matter, look so pretty. It helps that the graphics fidelity is consistent across most of the game. Most of it. I'll talk about it a little more once we leave Earth and get aboard a starship. Continuing on our relationship with her from the first game, the two of us have a bit of a personal dialogue. And, that's new. We get to pick from some dialogue options? I was not expecting that from this game. How much does it end up mattering, though? It probably doesn't all that much, but that's interesting either way. Okay, game, I admit, you got me. From here, the game skips ahead 2 years, showing us participating in a training session that appears to take place on some vessel, fighting some holographic Romulans on the ol' holodeck. Joining us is the eager Klingon Korban, who will become our best friends a little later in the game. You'll see why. And it's not just because he is voiced by the wonderful Tony Todd in this game.
The door is malfunctioning. We need to find a way past it and repair it from the other side.
But that helps. Although anytime he's around, I expect him to praise us for doing a simple task and spouting wisdom nonsense about how the Freeman is all-knowing and great. I guess it wouldn't be so out of place if Vortigaunt's appeared in this game, after all. The training session goes like normal, and it ends off with us taking down some Romulan bastards with this classic Klingon blade that I never remember the name of and I don't care to look up. Well, this is Monroe's life as of current, huh? What a drag. 2 years of this crap is enough. I gotta have a sit down with Eyebrows and give him a piece of my mind. Wait, who's this? Ah, it is the Captain Jean-Luc Picard himself, and he happened to be observing that bout on the holodeck just then. He is impressed with our combat skills, and inquires about our training, where Picard is informed of the Hazard team, and the misadventures we done had in the Delta Quadrant. After Picard tells off Eyebrows here, yeah, tell him like it is, sir. He recruits the Hazard team to serve aboard the Enterprise E. You're damn skippy, I will, sir. These last 2 years have been lame. I don't want to teach these poser rookies anymore. I want to see some action. I should also point out that Picard is indeed voiced by Sir Patrick Stewart himself here, since who else would do it?
I see. And are you a Starfleet captain?
Well, no, but...
The challenges we face on the outer edges of Federation space are not so different from what Voyager faced in the Delta Quadrant. I could use...
It does sound a little bit like he's phoning it in, admittedly, though it's not quite to the point where it sounds like he's there just for the paycheck.
This is not good.
It's nice that he's here anyway. A short time later, we beam aboard the flagship of the Federation. Hell yeah. Picard, my man, my homie, what's this all about?
Lieutenant Commander Tuvok has agreed to take a temporary assignment at the tactical station while Lieutenant Commander Worf is on leave.
Oh, come on, Captain, not this asshole. What are you doing to me? Well, the team is indeed back together, I suppose. There's Chell. And both Chang and Jarrah make a return as well. Alongside us, Korban is tagging along, and as well as some rookie who will act as our shuttle pilot. Speaking of Korban, he's working the armory and has a new toy for us to test out. That new toy happens to be the standard issue shotgun, a weapon type that doesn't really appear in the first game. Hell yes, that's what I'm talking about. Curiously, the official name for it is assault rifle. I don't know what to make of all that. It does kick ass. That's the only factor that matters to me. And the devs knew people would want to use this weapon as much as possible, resulting in you having the weapon in your loadout in most missions for the rest of the game. Looks like this is the start of a beautiful friendship, my warrior friend. Let's see how Chell and Jarrah are doing.
While the team was disbanded, I returned to Vulcan for further study. I've greatly improved my medical skills.
Okay.
It's great having the Hazard team back together again.
Good talk. We're being summoned to the bridge by the Cap. Better see what that's all about. As we get to the bridge, the Enterprise receives a distress signal from another Federation ship, the USS Dallas, and they seem to be caught up in a little debauchery. To the rescue! We arrive at where the ship is located, and it seems to be nothing more than a giant corpse floating through space. Of course, we need to investigate, especially because Picard here commanded us to be ready to beam over once we got here, and we do so. The artificial gravity has been switched off, along with the life support system, and oh hell, this is serious, I see. This is an actual corpse floating around in this derelict vessel. Never mind the fact that we see through the POV of presumably whoever or whatever caused the ship to end up in its current state. Being the proactive leader we are, we seek out the controls to restore gravity and open the door to another area. Hold on, let's read the subtitle for a second. No power, I can't disengage the lock, can you locate it is power console? Sure thing. This one requires doing one of those circuit puzzles, the first of the game. And initially, I couldn't make heads or asses of what I should be doing here, but once it clicked, it was a breeze. You know, it would seem these crew members died due to the loss of their life support systems, yet they look a lot like zombies. I would have imagined the bodies would bloat up, kinda like those couple scenes from Total Recall. Then again, this is a T-rated game. I suppose you can only do so much.
What was that?
That would be our first appearance of the probable hostile force we will be facing soon enough. We can see that they're definitely not predators or xenomorphs, fortunately. However, we still don't know what we're dealing with. We make our way through the ship's inner workings to get to the controls that will switch back on the gravity. One puzzle down, and artificial gravity is back online.
Why does your team leader go off on scouting missions? Isn't he too valuable to risk?
It's because you, a generic red shirt introduced in this mission, would die a horrible death if you went scouting ahead. Trust me on that one. Although I'd think Chell and Jarrah would be fine. I mean, they did make it to the sequel after all. Can't say the same about Lieutenant Foster. This mission highlights the ugly side of the level design, I gotta say, and that it quickly feels like everything looks the same. Albeit, these environments make you feel like you're inhabiting this universe, even within the confines of a starship. Repeating hallways isn't really a far-fetched concept in this case. Doesn't change the fact that I got lost so much in this mission in particular. I admit this was partially my fault, as I didn't completely keep track of where I was going in these maintenance tubes, making me feel like I was in a Jeffries tube version of the back rooms. What wasn't my fault was the fact that one area of these tubes looked completely identical to another, down to the very layout. It took a while, but we get down to engineering to fully restore power, specifically so we can use the turbo lifts to get to the bridge. And once we do get up to the bridge, we must get a hold of the captain's log, which I'm sure will illustrate the horrors of this ship's final hours. And I don't know how to access the bridge, though that is because I keep forgetting that we have a tricorder now, which has a view mode that points out structural weaknesses. These areas can be blasted away by any common phaser, sometimes revealing the way to progress, and sometimes revealing secrets. Don't even get me started on the secrets. These areas, in the first half of the game anyway, were incredibly cryptic for me to find, and didn't have much indication as to where they could be in the level. I'm not the greatest at finding secrets in shooters. I'm decent enough. It's just that this game tries me whenever I attempt to find them. These areas don't normally contain much anyway, other than health and ammo, or these collectible golden ships. These golden ships unlock bonus maps that are, frankly, kinda lame. A few maps are nothing but kill everything in the map with a certain weapon, or set of weapons. The maps themselves are unique and look nice, with the downside that you're blocked from exploring them extensively by invisible walls. There's a concept art map, another map where you play as Korban in third-person pain-in-the-ass mode, and this map that...
Phaser set to kill.
I shouldn't have turned my back on you.
Don't mess with a bullying!
A mighty failure.
Back to reality, this view mode shows that we can simply blast through the doors leading to the bridge. This one took me a while, and in my defense, I plead ignorance. Before I made it upon that conclusion, the newbie here gets himself killed just before reaching the bridge. See, I told you, rookie! And we have our first combat encounter with this game's primary antagonistic force, the Exomorphs. More on them later. However, they do vaguely remind me, visually, of the pit drones from Half-Life Opposing Force. I'd say the Exomorphs are noticeably less annoying than the drones. The captain's log illuminates us a little further on this incident, stating that the ship responded to a distress call from these alien guys, the Atrexians, whose station was under attack. Following the Dallas coming to the scene, they too fell under overwhelming attack. Most of the crew beamed over to the Atrexian station, while a small crew remained aboard the ship to bring it away from the station, all as a diversion tactic. Well, we are looking at the results of that diversion. The good news is most of the ship's crew are still alive. Maybe. And then there's a few of them that are stuck in transporter limbo, in the event that they would hopefully get rescued to tell the tale, and we're able to save them after heading down to the transporter room to beam them back in. This was planned out by the chief engineer, who happens to be the great-granddaughter of Montgomery Scott, our favorite Scotsman. This feels like pointless fan service to me, although I won't deduct too many points, since she's not a character that appears much after this. And this bit of fan service is not nearly as obtuse as the fan service done in a lot of franchises in the modern age, including in Star Trek itself. And look, it's Telsia. Yeah, I suppose she was assigned to the Dallas a couple years back. And what do you know, she survived the attack. Meanwhile, Chell had stayed on the bridge in order to help us get more power to the transporters in the first place. And since we left, some tomfoolery has occurred up there, so we gotta step to it and bail him out. We're not allowed to let him die here, I'm afraid. Fine, I'll save him. Afterwards, we return to the Enterprise for debriefing, and Picard is informed of the situation with the USS Dallas. We also learn from Telsia that these exomorphs didn't arrive by ship and have impulse engines built right into their exoskeletons. That's interesting. I guess that does explain away the flames that emit from behind these guys at certain moments, and it's not just because their asses have caught fire like I originally thought. Looks like the Hazard team has their work cut out for them. Time to seek out this new life and blow it away with a shotgun. Our next stop is this Atrexian station to rescue any remaining personnel, both Federation and Atrexian. Before that, I try to get a good look at the exterior of the ship, which really impressed me, for some reason. I was able to get a better look later. It didn't show me much more other than the void that isn't just space itself. What secrets does it contain? Perhaps we will never know. This game gives you a good sense of scale when it comes to some of these environments and skyboxes, especially ones of starships. Yeah, I admit that some of the texture work appears slightly blurry, including from seeing it from far away. The benefit of these skyboxes is that it helps make these maps feel more natural. Starfleet headquarters from earlier had this feeling too, but the outdoor areas and other maps are a different story. I'll come back to that when it becomes relevant. I don't recall why we're taking a taxi to the station instead of beaming over. Guess it doesn't matter. Before we depart, the shuttle nearly explodes and destroys the entire universe, such a thing we prevent by doing this timed puzzle. Yes, please, keep me under pressure while I try to figure this crap out. It's fine, let's get going already.
We need to exercise caution. These aliens are capable of impulse flight. They're capable of chewing through a tritanium hull.
They're capable of falling over when shot.
Damn straight. We arrive at the space station. Alone for some reason. Hold up, where's everyone else? I thought they all boarded the shuttle with Monroe. Did they beam to the station while we were on the shuttle to get a head start or something? Okay, I examined the footage myself since I don't have any experts on hand to do so, and the team are never explicitly seen entering the shuttle. But they all crowd around the boarding ramp like they were getting on. Yet when we reach the station's hangar, only Monroe exits off and talks to the others via communicator. Also, the shuttle flies off after only Monroe gets off of it. I don't have an explanation for this one. I feel like I'm missing something here, but I swear I didn't cut anything important. This shotgun performs pretty well though, particularly against these exomorphs. Look, sometimes they explode into a mist of blood and jibs when shot close enough. Making our way through the station, we rescue one of these Atrexians, who certainly look unique. What does he have to say about our rescue?
The fates have delivered us.
I agree. We proceed through some more soulless hallways while blasting away exomorphs, and a bigger variant of the standard one sometimes sprinkled in. These guys get kinda old to deal with after a map or two, and you will be seeing them quite often from here on, with very few variants. Oh yay. Not too long later, we come across a couple more Atrexians trying to hold down the fort. Talking to them, they seem to have no idea where the exomorphs came from either, echoing the same thing said by the crew we saved from the Dallas. After keeping an eye on them, they also came to the conclusion that these guys are more like insects, attacking in great numbers, very goal-oriented, and no self-preservation skills. When not in attack mode, they sort of wander about, not doing anything specifically until they need to go into battle again. Also, whenever an Atrexian blinks, it looks like a butthole opening and closing. I hate it. Monroe proceeds to ask about an armory, with one of the Atrexians pointing us in the right direction and willing to join us. Right on, brother, let's go find us some proper weaponry. This shotgun clips things reliably, while this full auto compression rifle is a little lame. Even though it has a plasma grenade launcher of sorts for the secondary, we just need something new to mix things up. Once we reach the armory after some shenanigans have occurred, we get this arc gun. Meh, it does the job, I suppose. It acts as sort of a lightning submachine gun, with decent damage and a lightning grenade for the secondary. Gotta say, the Atrexians aren't impressing me with their guns thus far. We then get this guy back to his buddy and check up on the rest of the team. Each one is doing their respective part towards restoring order to this station, and meanwhile, we venture deeper into the facility. Not much to say for the moment. We eventually reach the rendezvous point that had been established beforehand. We get another good view of the skybox. Very nice, I approve. This guy informs us that the station's defense grid is down, which I interpret as, we are the station's last line of defense. In that case, bring 'em on. We defend against another swarm to protect the facility's remaining personnel, with Jarrah and Chang joining us just in time. Chell eventually joins in, about a minute later, while we're talking to the personnel that we were just protecting. Apparently, they've been having troubles with various factions trying to bring the hammer down on the station recently, including the Idril. The Idril are a more human-looking race that were cared for by the Atrexians for many moons. being provided basic things to run a society, like language and warp capabilities. And nukes. Okay, maybe not nukes, but we don't know that for sure. Even then, it's only a separatist group of Idril that have been causing trouble lately, not just all of them. We are interrupted to remind us of the mission, which is now getting that defense grid back up and running. To do so, we gotta travel to another part of the station and locate the chief engineer. We take this convenient tram to the engineer's supposed location, but some bastard exomorph knocks the tram off the tracks, and everything is a blur for a moment. Monroe wakes up to find Ensign Gonzalez of the USS Dallas standing over him. He informs us that the crew of the Dallas is located in yet another part of the facility, which we gain the coordinates for, and Tuvok beams them to the Enterprise. Gonzalez stays with us because he's in the killing mood as well. Yeah, that's the spirit. You don't look like the kind of guy that'll die immediately. Let's get going. We locate the engineer, where she is trapped in a room we have no access to until we can get the door open. Great, that means it's puzzle time, and this one took me an embarrassing amount of time. Let's skip ahead. She's up to the task of turning the grid back on. However, we gotta protect her while she does so. It sounds more awful than it actually is. Because this game was developed by a studio that knew what they were doing, the few points where you have to protect an NPC or escort them aren't bad at all. They can sponge up quite a bit of damage, and the AI on them is decent enough that they are nowhere near hideously incompetent on staying alive, which is always appreciated. Anyway, we head down to the main power core. I take out droves of these bugs while she works her magic, and boom! Weapon system is operational again. Good job, team. Back on the Enterprise, one of the team was able to obtain a corpse of one of the creatures for further examination. In a meeting with Picard, Tuvok, and the chief medical officer, who isn't Beverly Crusher for some reason, she confirms these guys are genetically engineered. We are then assigned to conduct more research on the Atrexians and their enemies. Monroe also convinces Picard to instate Gonzalez and Telsia into the Hazard team, since we can never have enough red shirts to dispose of on dangerous missions. We get Telsia to help out with research, and we don't find too much. Not much is known about the Idril people, apart from the fact that they have been used as slaves in anything but name to the Atrexians for hundreds of years. Picard summons us to the briefing room, where the rest of the team is already at. Our next objective is the planet Epsilon 5, where signatures of the propulsion system that the exomorphs use have been detected, just within Atrexian space. Away! Chell, Korban, and Telsia join us as we get our first proper planet-side mission. Okay, this is where the environments start losing some points for me. As you have seen, this game generally looks nice, and it has stayed consistent. The graphics and art direction are solid for 2003, maybe minus the occasional stone-faced expressions on the faces of many NPCs. This nice look has come at a cost by reducing the render distance and dropping fog everywhere. Don't worry, this happens with most of the outdoor areas you'll see for the rest of the game. This is exactly the sort of thing I was talking about in the Nightfire episode. I may like the crisp look of the graphics here, but I would happily take the graphics fidelity from the first game if it meant that it would get rid of this fog. Even with fog, the frame rate on this game can dip a teensy bit in certain outdoor areas. Maybe that's another problem with running this game on a modern system, though still, why the hell is this happening? The planet missions provide a good variety to the environments, with the compromise that I can't see anything beyond 20 feet. May as well treat this like this is the Silent Hill episode of Star Trek. This may not happen in areas like outside Starfleet headquarters from earlier, but I can still see objects popping in as I get closer. Very well, let's go explore the planet. Before long, we stumble across a settlement of the Idril. The purpose of this group is to study the ruins of an Idril outpost near here that is, supposedly, over 3 millennia years old. However, a group of scientists that were sent to the ruins themselves have not reported back, and these Idril have no weapons. We gotta go save them, and alright, just stop staring at me with those piercing eyes. No one had mentioned every member of this race had eyes that stare straight into your soul. Doesn't help that they hardly emote. We make it to the ruins, and as to be expected, everything is locked off, requiring us to find another way around to restore power. And just us. Nobody else. That's cool, guys. I'm totally fine with being the only useful member of the group. It's not like I'm the leader or anything.
Main power offline.
Is that you, God? Oh, wait, I'm not dead yet. Maybe next time. Moving along, we start encountering these bugs that the game implies are a different form of exomorph. I can't confirm myself if they are indeed exomorphs, but these ones only appear in this mission, and they come in different flavors. Tangerine, green apple, and blue. Light blue, sorry.
Monroe, wait! This pathway's highly unstable. Use structural integrity view mode and watch where you step.
Understood. Hazard
Monroe,
team,
what
wait
are you
here.
doing?
I'll cross and find a safer path.
Look out!
Huh, who said that? I blacked out for a second. Man, I feel weird now. We gotta keep moving. A few minutes pass and we discover that Idril scouting party. All dead, of course. This light bridge puzzle annoyed me to a mild degree, mostly because I was an idiot and didn't try to figure out the pattern on my first couple tries. Not really much else to say as we go deeper and deeper into the ruins, eventually running into the mother of these bugs, and the boss of this mission, the dreaded Queen Bug. What's that? Shoot at it until it dies? Yes, sir, you can count on me. This boss is nothing, even if her bug children keep bugging us while we bug this bug. Moving past her, the team reaches an elevator that takes us underground, where we end up in this chamber that doesn't seem nearly as derelict as the structures on the surface. Uh-oh, we have weird turrets that rotate on these pillars. What overwhelming opposition will we face next? Apparently a room that traps us in and releases poisonous gas. And Chell tells us, or the game tells us through him, to use the next view mode on the tricorder, trace gas. All it does is highlight where gas is coming from, and unlike the structural integrity mode, this mode only appears in missions where you will need to use it. Alright, gas is detected, and the emitters are disabled. On to the next challenge. Now we're in these weird shielded tunnels or something, with a few dead exomorphs up ahead, for reasons? Looks like there's a live one too.
Feel my wrath.
He felt you miss him by a kilometer.
Burn! Damn, Chell, I didn't know you had it in ya. That almost makes up for how annoying you are in this game. Almost. Telsia brings up a good point that those exomorphs typically don't explode for no reason at all. I mean, they explode from being shot with a shotgun, but that's to be expected. But now they just kind of exploded from nothing. That's odd. And we're able to deduce that there is something we are not seeing. Bioscan time. Another tricorder mode that reveals certain environmental hazards, which can only be used in certain missions as well. Getting past that and deactivating the force field ahead causes another force field to activate in front of the rest of the team, cutting them off from us for the moment. This appears to be an Idril factory, though there continues to not be much that's particularly remarkable about it. We eventually do another light bridge puzzle, along with several puzzles involving the various modes on the tricorder, before reuniting with the team and continuing on in this underground, place. The path leads us to a couple of Idril scientists. Of note is Clea, who does become a supporting character for the remainder of the game. My, ma'am, you are looking rather revealing today. Aren't you supposed to be just a scientist? Wouldn't be the first time in this franchise. This is where we officially learn the purpose of the exomorphs, and officially the name of the species, which we all knew already. These guys were constructed and engineered by the Idril people themselves in a factory like the very one we are standing in. They were only meant to serve the Idril, however, it is not known why they became aggressive in recent times. Oh great, we also find out these factories automatically construct the exomorph fuckers. Yeah, thanks a lot, you Idril pricks. This is the first contact we've had with this humanoid species, and they unleash an army of killer, genetically engineered bugs on the galaxy. And this whole fuck-up isn't even on the Federation's hands. This time. We're currently being tasked to hunt down the other scientist's son, Crindo. The team stays behind and we quickly find Crindo. Better yet, he confesses to modifying the behavior on the exomorphs, which resulted in them turning evil. Aha! I don't know you, but I knew it was you. Alright, pal, lead me to where we can shut this shit down hard.
Shut it down.
Well, it will take some time. About 6 hours to discontinue the incubation process. What? No!
Monroe, my man. Although doing that could have destroyed everything, including you. Remember your training, Monroe. A little while later, we are back on the Enterprise, and these few Idril explain their situation, droning on about how the Atrexians suck due to the whole slavery thing. At the same time, might I point this out? Who was it that created the robo-bugs that are currently our biggest annoyance? Yeah, that's what I thought. Until this whole mess can be sorted out, these guys are suspended to guest quarters, and the Cap orders us to question Clea, as she supposedly credited Monroe here for the rescue mission. Looks like she has a thing for him.
Captain, should I assist Lieutenant Monroe?
I think not. Monroe has an advantage here. Clea credits him with saving Crindo.
I don't have to be a betazoid to sense a hint of jealousy from Telsia when she hears about this assignment. We head on down to Clea's temporary accommodation to talk to her. She doesn't really have much to say that's interesting, except that she's slowly leaning harder into her attraction for Monroe. I mean, it's so obvious. Oh, that's what the dialogue choices are for. We're doing the whole relationship thing in this game. Up to this point, these options only pop up in certain conversations with Telsia. As suspected, these options don't matter ultimately. I'm sure I can only choose one over another, and for this playthrough, I chose Telsia, seeing as I've known her since the first game. She did survive long enough to make it to the sequel, that's gotta count for something. And Clea was involved in the creation of these bug bastards, or at least her race was. That's already not convincing me. I did see what picking her would do in these conversations, out of curiosity, though I didn't see it through for the rest of the game. She's not interesting either way, and I only noticed when watching the footage back that her boobs sway back and forth as she walks. I'm not really surprised. This game does come from the same studio that made the game Sin. What does matter, however, during all this is that one of the Atrexians from earlier got into contact with the Enterprise. They order Captain Picard to release the Idril prisoners, and it sounds like they have ulterior motives. But they are the babysitters of the Idril. I guess we can't argue with them. So, release of the prisoners it is. That still doesn't change the fact that they're bastards. Clea instead requests to stay aboard in order to assist the crew quell the exomorph threat. Meanwhile, over on the planet of Taravar 7, an Atrexian colony is in trouble, and the exomorphs being the cause behind it. Go figure. Before we warp over to the planet, Korban gifts us with a new toy. The grenade launcher. It makes a return from the first game, with a different look and slightly different function. There is no secondary fire, and in its place is a remote detonation for grenades that don't explode automatically. Still kicks ass, I see. A short time later, we make it to this planet, and weirdly enough, some Idril ships arrive at the same time. We hail them, and they supposedly want to help the Atrexians with their own security teams that would be placed under the command of the Hazard Team. However, it was all a ruse to get the Enterprise to lower its shields, and the Idrils open fire on the ship. Another one of the ships hails us, and it turns out that Crindo has returned to us with a posse. He's preparing to board the ship. Oh yeah, I know this game. I'm so used to holding back boarding parties by this point because of the last game. Oh, that's cute. The Idril guys have their own little shields. Yet I offer a suitable rebuttal. A shotgun. We travel through the ship, fighting against the invaders, which eventually leads us to engineering. The warp core is going critical, and we gotta protect it from taking any more damage as these goons beam in to, well, damage it. Great, hitting these panels, accidentally or otherwise, causes the warp core to become more compromised, making the shotgun a bad choice for this round. I eventually learned this the hard way when we are ordered to assist in restabilizing the core, through a fucking timed puzzle, and the only indicator of the time is the temperature bar off to the side for the warp core. This puzzle, combined with the temp slowly climbing even while doing said puzzle, made this the most frustrating mission in the game for me. This game isn't even frustrating overall, just portions of it, like this one. It only took me 7 minutes to finally get it right, though the suckage isn't over just yet. We're then called back to the bridge to fight off these guys alongside Picard. This isn't too bad, but the next part is. I get some low-gravity play because the Idril are attempting to gain control of this ship or whatever by placing these devices on the hull of the ship. We have to shut them down by getting around the shields placed to protect each device and use the tricorder to do the rest. Tuvok keeps reminding us to hurry it up, even though the low Gs are making it difficult to navigate at a speedy rate.
The Idril have breached our Level 3 security protocols. You must hurry. Lieutenant Monroe, time is of the essence. The Idril must not gain...
God damn it, shut up, Tuvok! Do you seriously think I don't know this? At least we get this sweet sniper rifle, which one hits and vaporizes most humanoid enemies. Score. Okay, that was a little annoying, but whatever, it's fine. What's next? I should have expected that. A damn turret section. We have to disable Crindo's ship by shooting at the highlighted points, all while fighter ships fire on us constantly, and whenever Crindo's vessel is in sight, it shoots torpedoes at us. Now this section pissed me off too. The game didn't give me any indication that I could shoot down the enemy's projectiles, so I took the damage each time, resulting in death and anger. Then a stray shot of mine hits one of these projectiles and it's suddenly not a problem. What the hell? This is how I'm supposed to find out I can shoot down the projectiles? I want to chalk this up to me being stupid again, however this appears to be a case of the game jerking me around. Yes, I know I should try shooting at the missiles barreling towards me 100 times a second, while I juggle taking down some of the fighter ships and work on disabling the main ship. Only if the game had given me more indication I could do that. Oh, and the screen shakes every time you take a hit with the force equivalent to a magnitude 5 earthquake. I blame all of this on the game. On the bright side, we have passed the worst of the frustration. The game does occasionally get frustrating again, it just doesn't quite reach the heights we saw with this mission, fortunately. Time to get down to the planet at long last. Upon landing, Gerard is already getting stuck on some geometry, not off to a good start. Seriously, this planet is looking pretty dead already. I don't know why we have to save the remaining Atrexians. We do just that when one of them informs us that a group of scientists have escaped to the sewers. Oh goody, after all that frustration I'm rewarded with a fucking sewer level. Along with it being as bland and boring as your typical sewer level, this one has fog in it. Even the sewers aren't safe from render distance fog. In that case, we probably shouldn't be breathing this air then, though the game doesn't treat it as toxic, so no worries there. After some confusion, the scientists are eventually located. Only 2 of them remain, telling us that the rest of them went back up to the surface, to the Waste Reclamation Center. Yes. Since the tunnels were collapsing down below from the onslaught, some Idril guy told them it would be safer at that location. The crew stays behind to babysit the scientists while I return to the overworld, thank God. I spoke too soon, it's more fighting these bugs, and occasionally battling bigger and badder variants of the exomorphs that aren't particularly interesting. On top of that, the locale for this next section is yet another factory. Much later, a dying Atrexian points us in the directions of the shuttles, where we must head next. We witness one of those shuttles get shot down, and we proceed to the crash site. It may seem like I'm skipping a lot here. Trust me, I'm not. This game just keeps going, and frankly, it's beginning to burn me out. I'm just covering the highlights. After examining the wreckage, we are beamed back onto the shuttle we came here on, and Crindo's dad from earlier reveals a few previously unknown details. As it turns out, he helped Crindo turn the murder factories back on in the first place, but Crindo had convinced him the exomorphs would be used for peace, not war. He discloses the location of Crindo, which happens to be on another nearby planet. Shuttle away! A short time later, we arrive at where the coordinates have led us. The shuttle buckles under the electrical storms this planet has, disabling the craft outright moments later. The pilot, Sydney, is injured and knocked out cold, even though her eyes are wide open and she straight up blinks. Because of the interference from the storm, we can't beam back to the Enterprise, so everybody gets to hold down the fort at the shuttle while I traverse this swamp to hunt down Crindo. Nothing much about these swamps, just feels like I'm trudging through the outlands of Yavin 4 in Star Wars Jedi Outcast. Maybe it's because both involve swamps and ancient ruins. This level does introduce these goons who will lob explosives at you from long range, acting as a sort of mobile mortar. These guys aren't too tough to deal with necessarily, though can get damn annoying with how much they spam that attack. Time passes and we emerge at an actual structure, where some Idril separatists are waiting for us. That does include more mortar guys, yippee. We do get captured, leading us straight to the man of the hour himself. The rest of the team was captured as well, prompting us with another instance of branching dialogue. Wait, we get to romance Crindo as well? Nah, just kidding. I don't know why that one was there. Either way, we try to convince Crindo that his father's back on Tarvar 7, where the bombardment continues, as Crindo doesn't know his padre is there. He thinks we're bluffing, only for him to go contact his father and sees his old man about to die. Crindo commands the exomorphs to cease the attack. However, they do not respond to this order, ending with Crindo's dad kicking the bucket. You see what you did there, dumbass? Oh sure, you were all, at last we will have our revenge against the Atrexians, which, given the evidence, they somewhat deserve it. Doesn't make you better for initiating the Civil War, and now since your army of killer bug machines have finally claimed the life of someone close to you, hold up, why aren't they listening to the commands? That's rather odd, and rather bad. Now that Crindo sees the writing on the wall, after all this time, he decides to set this factory to self-destruct. He'll meet us at the exit elevator. We go through the facility as it falls apart, reaching the elevator, and yeah, Crindo is done fucking around. He seems to be on our side. While he fiddles with some console to summon the elevator, a new exomorph appears, the Stalker. This guy looks rad as hell, and he cloaks. Makes me wish he appeared earlier on in this game. He's way more interesting to fight than the damned bugs. We must return to the ship at once and see what this bastard has to say about all this to the captain. Time for some good ol' interrogation, though I don't think Starfleet would sanction any torture methods. At that point, can you really call it interrogating? The Captain Monroe put the squeeze on Crindo here, which initially doesn't work since he's dwelling on the consequences of his actions. He then reveals there is a master control facility for the exomorphs in an unknown location, meaning someone could have gotten to it. While he doesn't know where it is located, he points us in the direction of OMAG, some Ferengi asshole. Crindo needs to call up OMAG to trap him, and needs to do so from his own shuttle, as doing it from a Federation signal would arouse suspicion. However, his comms array is out of order, so he and another Enterprise crewman get to work on fixing it. In the meantime, Clea and Telsia both call for us. We stop by to talk to Clea, encouraging her to talk to Crindo despite what he's done. And with Telsia, it's just more relationship crap. That it? Oh no, Korban wants us to test yet another new weapon. Good looking out for me, best friend. Hey, a rocket launcher. Okay, it technically is a torpedo launcher that is shaped more like a traditional RPG. It does what you expect it to, not bad at all. And the secondary is a laser guidance system, like the RPGs from the Half-Life series. Nice. The comms array is fixed, it looks like OMAG has agreed to meet up, and we are tasked with taking Crindo's shuttle to the meetup point. A dingy old starbase. Gonzalez is tagging along, but other than that, we have to stay out of contact with the Enterprise, meaning we're on our own so we don't blow our cover. At the starbase, it sure is a rundown hellhole, to say the least. My reticle keeps lighting up red whenever I point it at any generic NPC in this level, so of course we'll be fighting them later. We go to the bar where OMAG is at, and like the rest of the starbase, it sure is a dump. At least it's got some alien strippers, hell yeah. What else do we have?
The transport vessel Kaitan. My friend here tells me you're looking for transportation?
Yes, indeed. If it's a big vessel.
Big vessel? The Kaitan is a Wudan-class transport vessel.
Should I know what that means?
And let's just say, it's big. I've outhauled Romulan starships, not just the D-cruisers either. I can carry more cargo than even the big Dederidex-class ships. What's the cargo?
Only myself, 10 transport containers of domesticated targ, and no questions asked.
Right. It would seem OMAG is in the back room, and we need special permission to get back there. by having a one-on-one with this alien bouncer. He smacks me around considerably, though I still come out on top. Time for our appointment. We almost immediately confront the Ferengi, and he promptly shoots us down by quoting the rules of acquisition. I had no idea what the hell these were when playing the game, so I guessed what to say next with the dialogue. Luckily for me, picking the wrong one doesn't screw me, it just loops back. Omag fucks off before we can talk proper, and there are several dozen thugs between the two of us. While I'm glad we get some enemy variety again, this part inflicted some minor pain on me due to the pain that was already administered to me by that bastard bouncer. Plus, these tight halls combined with melee fighters and goons with guns, it got tougher than I would have expected. This time, it was both my fault and the game's fault for the pain. Anyway, we about reach Omag, but he convinces this Klingon dick to defend him from us, first in this semi-mobile turret thing. I really had no clue exactly where I needed to be hitting him, since it seemed like he was damaged at random. No matter, this boss isn't too hard. The turret is quickly disabled and he exits to attack us with a chain gun. Ooh, that gun is mine once you're dead. We contact the captain to inform him that Omag is escaping, though the Enterprise is able to intercept his shuttle and we are summoned back to the ship. On the way out, Monroe snags that chain gun because he knows what we want. As it turns out, Omag made sure to erase all traces of this master control facility he referred to, so time to turn the tables on him with more on citing the rules of acquisition to him in order to get him to squeal. It takes a bit of workaround, where it eventually leads us to charging him with mass murder. He makes a deal with us so he won't face any charges by revealing the customer he sold the facility to, a group of Romulans. We're able to goad him further into spilling even more beans, name-dropping a guy named Soldoc, and handing over the coordinates to where this guy is at, which happens to be just within Romulan space. Oh boy, this is going to get messy. We'll have time for that in a minute. It looks like Korban wants us to try out that chain gun. Yep, it passes inspection. Got a barrage of projectiles as the primary, obviously, and a concentrated shot for the secondary. Our next stop is the briefing room, where we are informed that Starfleet has given the green light to infiltrate Romulan space in order to find Soldoc, though we must do so incognito. So, with a bit of makeup magic, plastic surgery, we can make ourselves look Romulan. How original. After receiving said surgery, we beam down to this snow planet and begin our search. There's this Romulan informant that we need to make contact with, who will help us track our guy down. Oh yeah, a Romulan double agent. What could possibly go wrong? And uh-oh, a stealth section. We need to avoid these scanners that can pick up anybody who's not a Romulan and strike them down. Okay, time to mentally prepare for this endeavor. Wait, I just need to use my tricorder's bioscanner to detect the spotlights. Damn it, game, stop faking me out like that. This game might not have proper stealth, though it sure does like to make you think there is. Anywho, next we go from one building to another to gain access to other buildings. This part is mildly tedious and somehow our cover hasn't been blown yet. We get in touch with this informant who tells us that we need to create a distraction in order to go inside another office for a computer code and... Okay, it sounds like we're doing all the heavy lifting again. Even after doing what she said, she still gives us more work to do to get to Soldoc. Oh, and Gonzalez joined us for this mission only to get captured. I'm like 97% certain this informant is behind him getting captured. But the game doesn't allow us to kill her yet, so on we go. We're encouraged to use stealth here, and only encouraged. We're not doing that. It may have been a good idea to do it that way, since once the alarm is tripped, Romulan goons spawn infinitely to attack us. At least I have this disruptor with recharging ammo. A while later, we meet back up with the informant and she leads us to where Gonzalez is being kept. We find him and yep, he tells Monroe that she betrayed us. Time to fight her. Oddly enough, she mentions she is doing this under the guise of an organization known as the Empty Crown, rather than doing it for the Romulan Empire. Huh. She may have this personal cloaking device, and looks vaguely like the Black Ops assassins from Half-Life, yet it takes me hardly 2 minutes to bring her down. We free Gonzalez, and this is enough for Soldoc and his entourage to beam in. He reveals that the Order of the Empty Crown is a renegade Romulan group trying to get the Romulan Empire to go to war with the Federation under false pretenses. He used this whole covert op of ours to frame it as if the Federation attacked first, which would theoretically lead the Empire with supplying the Empty Crown with unlimited exomorphs needed in going to war. As part of his master plan, we were given false coordinates for the secret facility, and he divulges that the base is deeper into the Romulan neutral zone. He thinks he has us trapped here, hence why he told us all that. However, Gonzalez tackles Soldoc, knocking the tricorder out of his hands. Monroe retrieves the tricorder, Gonzalez is shot, and we're beamed out. We've got the real coordinates now, and Soldoc is pissed about all that just unfolded. So much for your master plan, dickhead.
How could they beam out? You told me you had jammed their transporters.
We debrief with Picard, informing him of where the master facility is located, and we head on out. Following this is another brief session of relationship nonsense. Following that, we head down to the briefing room to receive our final assignment for the game. We're going in on a risky mission to wipe out this facility, with the Hazard team being split into two groups for it. One to distract the Romulans from the other group so that the latter group can infiltrate the facility. Not long after beaming in, we are ambushed and Chell is shot, though not killed. He beams out and Korban is the only one left with us. This chain gun does some proper ass kicking in actual combat, just maybe not up against the returning mortar goons. That's okay, I have a remedy for that as well. A sniper. Looks like the Romulans had the same idea, as a sniper wounds Korban. As eager as he is to die fighting, we get him beamed out. Such a shame. I was hoping to fight alongside him one last time, but oh well. During the chaos, we did pick up this weird Romulan weapon where each shot does damage over time. Nah, I'm good. It just simply doesn't kill things fast enough. Oh right, I forgot we can use the Enterprise as air support, able to rain down a hail of phasers and torpedoes at will, on specific targets. You know, it just now occurred to me I haven't tested the secondary fire on that Romulan gun we picked up. And what better test subjects than the mortar dicks? On guard! Damn it, I missed, but whoa. I can nuke things with this fire mode. This mode indeed fires a giant fireball that explodes in great fashion on impact. It functions similarly to the BFG from Doom, or specifically the BFG from Doom 3, a year before Doom 3 was released. Nice. The fighting rages on, and meanwhile back on the Enterprise, the crew is intercepted by Imperial ships. They question why Starfleet is violating the terms of the neutral zone, where Picard informs them of the Empty Crown, and a crew of Romulans beams to the surface to fight, well, Empty Crown Romulans. This gives us a chance to sneak into the facility without further struggle, for the moment. We travel deeper into the base while the game throws everything it can at us. It isn't irritating, fortunately, but the game is getting a little relentless by this point. We finally come across our old pal Soldoc. He attempts to mortar us as these other bug types spring out from lava pits to constantly annoy us. Every time he bombs us, a part of his shield opens up, giving us an opportunity to blast him, though we gotta be quick about it. Oh, I got it, let's nuke his ass. Boom! It takes him a moment to die proper, but he's down now. Although a new problem emerges from the lava, this giant worm bug creature thing that is named on its health bar as that one. This big guy isn't so tough, you just have to, you guessed it, shoot at it till it dies. Granted, you have to wait for it to pop up from a lava pool, open up its head flaps or whatever, and open fire. While the smaller bugs continue to menace me and just ultimately annoy me. Once again, this all isn't hard, just slightly annoying. I also find out the hard way that my nuke projectiles can be shot down, which did kill me once right before I was nearly done killing Big Fucker here. And I didn't quick save during this fight, so we're trying all that again. At least I don't have to fight Soldoc again. Let's skip ahead. Yes, this monster is toast! The facility crumbles before us as we are beamed out. Picard conversates further with the Imperial Romulans, bringing them up to speed on how the Idril were an advanced civilization that nearly destroyed itself because of this technology they developed. Something that was covered up by the Atrexians so they could use the remnants of the Idril for slave labor. Oh right, the game told us this earlier on, but I thought I'd say it here. Both sides part ways with the misunderstanding resolved, and the Enterprise heads back to Federation space. Everything is normal back on the ship, and Captain Picard congratulates us for a job well done on this whole mission. He tells us he's going to talk to Starfleet about instating hazard teams on other ships in the future, even though I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen anyway because this game isn't canon. Picard does have a point. I mean, all the ships and their crews that we follow in this franchise get caught up in some shenanigans on a weekly basis. Some advanced security forces might not be a bad idea. And finally, Telsia awaits us, only because I picked her with all the relationship options. And at long last, Monroe begins a romantic relationship with her. The Enterprise warps out one last time, and roll credits. And that's the game. You still with me? It sure went on longer than I anticipated, but hey, we got to the end. Well, we're almost there. This game kinda leaves things open enough to make another sequel possible, except not actually. Remember the lawsuit I mentioned at the very beginning of the video? It is why we never got any sort of continuation with Monroe and the rest of the Hazard team. You see, in 2003, when this game originally came out, Star Trek was kind of on the decline at the time. People were just becoming less and less interested. I mean, you had the film Star Trek Nemesis released the previous year, which not only was it not received well by both audiences and critics, and they were correct, the film is shit, it bombed at the box office, a rarity for a Trek film at the time. It didn't help its case that it came out the same year as Star Wars Episode II, Siege of the Doppelgangers, and the first Spider-Man film, but that's another story. A couple of years prior, the show Voyager had ended, since people were getting tired of that, but they weren't exactly enthused by the following show, Enterprise, either. Interest in the franchise was dwindling fast, which is the reason the publisher Activision launched a lawsuit against the company behind the franchise, the giant Viacom, owner of both CBS and Paramount. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Activision had entered into a contract with Viacom to publish Trek games, beginning in 1998, and it would last 10 years. While the first Elite Force sold moderately well, the sequel didn't do as good, likely from the aforementioned Trek fatigue. With that, Activision saw it as a breach of contract for Viacom, letting the IP become degraded to the point where people were no longer buying as much merchandise, or in this particular instance, games. Matter of fact, here's a couple direct quotes from Activision themselves. Through its actions and inactions, Viacom has let the once proud Star Trek franchise stagnate and decay, they had claimed in a statement when filing for lawsuit. Viacom has released only one Star Trek movie since entering into agreement with Activision, and has recently informed Activision it has no current plans for further Star Trek films. Viacom has also allowed 2 Star Trek television series to go off the air, and the remaining series suffers from weak ratings. Viacom also frustrated Activision's efforts to coordinate the development and marketing of its games with Viacom's development and marketing of its new movies and television series. That was certainly a fascinating turn of events. Given how, strict Viacom is with their properties, you'd think they would have been the ones to initiate a lawsuit for some sort of reason. At any rate, by 2005, Activision had officially terminated its contract. Man, only if Activision had stayed on board a bit longer. They could have ended up getting the contract extended or something to make games for the reboot films that hit a few years later. I suppose you can't top perfection with games like Star Trek 2013. Great name, by the way. I'm sure it's not taken. Yeah, we're never seeing another Elite Force game again. And now you know why. Hell, we're even lucky that these games aren't abandonware currently, since they were re-released on GOG back in 2021 for the franchise's 55th anniversary. As for the sequel we did get, I would say it's good. While I thought the first game was a little too tedious and short, this game attempted to make up for that, even if the concepts never quite land right. Like the tricorder and its puzzles. Sure, it breaks up gameplay a little, though it is generally unnecessary, or particularly the dialogue choices. While this all feels like it doesn't add much, I do appreciate the game mixing things up and giving us some further interactivity to make up for the lack of it in the first game. As another example, when I was watching over the footage from my playthrough, I noticed a datapad in some corner room I paid no mind to at first, only to realize it had the code to Gerard's locker. I went back later to rob her, which gave me the iMod again. I don't know if the weapon stays with us for the rest of the game, and that robbery wasn't required in the slightest, but hey, the game gives me the option. It was trying, and I do give points for effort. The story itself wasn't bad, though I didn't find it too special. It's serviceable. It started to drag hard towards the middle to later parts of the game, so much so that even writing the script for this episode started to feel like a drag. It recovers in the end, and I do appreciate the game not being a festival of frustration. It challenges you at points, never getting too hard or too easy. The game does feel more like a traditional FPS than the first one. Don't take it the wrong way, this game gets that Trek feeling right. I simply think the first game did it perfectly, at the cost of being more basic in gameplay. In the end, this is a game that I like, it just has some notable flaws, just like its predecessor. In general terms, I would rate both games equally. They each have their own sets of pros and cons, with one game doing some things better than the other, and vice versa. I will say, one thing that is consistently great across both games is the multiplayer component, Hollow Match. I won't talk too much about multiplayer, though I will say with the second especially, I was glued to my seat dominating a bunch of bots in deathmatch. The bots in both games make for some proper enemies to combat, and this arsenal of weapons brings about the chaos flawlessly. The maps are great, the weapons are great, the bots are challenging, and it is all around an entertaining experience. When it comes to both Elite Force 1 and 2, would I recommend them? Sure, if you're interested in some Trek-themed FPSs, just be wary of each game's flaws and go in with an open mind. Even with the cons in mind, these games were still developed by studios that know how to craft such a game with love and effort put towards it. And it shows. That's it for this round of a fat nerd overanalyzing another stupid game. See you next time in For the Love of Modding. We'll be taking a look at a mod for a GTA game. Wait, don't vaporize me for that take two.
On scouting missions. Isn't he
We
too
created
valuable
our
to risk?
exomorphs to be builders.
This
not
Federation is so complete. You violated the
Well, my research clearly
I sense
shows
your
your starting
humanity.
captains do not need hazards to
You have come a long way.
I'm Katarina Scott, the chief engineer of the
You
Dallas.
have come a long way.
Our exomorphs to be builders.